James Alex Fields was a right-wing Christian terrorist, a right-wing white Christian terrorist, a radical white Christian terrorist. That's what this attack was. So you need to be able to call it out for what it is. He's Christian, through and through. His mother's going to crossroads her entire life, forcing him to believe in something that's not even there, a bunch of voodoo, hullabaloo, and he's a right-wing Trump lover, Nazi. He was considered the Nazi. But he comes out of Boone County, Kentucky. That's where he actually comes out of. He hails out of Boone County, Kentucky. He was in Maumee, Ohio for a while. There was in Northwest Ohio for like a year and a half. He voted for Trump in Ohio, but it wasn't Ohio who formed him. It was Boone County, Kentucky. And Boone County is located in northern Kentucky. He went to school in Randall Cooper High School, which is Union, Kentucky, so he's in Union, which is only a few miles down the road from where Margaret Gardner used to get raped. Margaret Gardner was a slave that killed her own kids instead of letting them go back into slavery, which caused a sort of call celebrate. It was a big media storm over this issue because she had killed him in Cincinnati. Ohio was free state, the Kentucky slave state. It was a Fugitive Slave Act. So there was a bunch of shit that was going on with that, but she came out of Boone County. Margaret Gardner came out of Boone County, Kentucky. Boone County, it's actually worse. Boone County High School, their mascot is known as the Rebels, and it's the Confederate Rebels. For a long time, it was the Confederate Rebel Generals. There's actually 7 high schools in Kentucky that's like that. Allen County, Atherton, Boone County, Boyle County, Casey County, Owen County, and Todd County Central. So there's still 7 counties, or 7 schools that carry the mascot, the racist Confederate mascot in Kentucky. I was actually kind of surprised about this list, because I would have thought that there would have been a whole bunch more. I think Floyd County was in there too. But there's 7 high schools that still have the Rebels nickname. At Allen Central High School, old logos and photos with the Confederate flag were eliminated, but the school's mascot hasn't been changed. Same thing with Boone County. They got rid of the Confederate flag because they had a Confederate general, like a Yosemite Sam cartoon character with the Confederate flag behind them. That's how the mascot used to be unveiled. On the basketball court, there used to be a big Confederate flag. So when the black students at Boone County were sitting there playing basketball, they had to play over a basketball court that had the Confederate flag right on the floor. They were waving the Confederate flag at football games. There's a big banner the band would bring in that had a Confederate general. So it was more than fucking obvious. It's a Confederate fucking rebel. Confederate rebel. Some people wanted to try to say that since the school was built in 1954, rebels actually meant rebel without a cause. It was a liberal thing. It was James Dean. They were naming it after James Dean. Yeah, bullshit. Kentucky was very conservative. They would not name anything, in the 50s during segregation after whoever I was talking about. So Rupp Arena, named after Adolph Rupp. Adolph Rupp was the last college basketball team to put black students into the game. He was the last one to do it. So Adolph Rupp was racist as fuck. He did allow one black person into his squad, but eventually he's going to be accused of rape and he's serving time in prison for the rest of his life. So great opportunity there, right? Adolph Rupp was the star of the Disney movie Glory Roads. Adolph Rupp was the star of the movie Glory Roads, which was about him being the last team to allow black players on the team. He wanted all white, and then they played a team that allowed black players. And then that's, oh my God, what's happening? So in America, there's a lot of symbolism. There's 10 major domestic military bases that are named after Confederate officers. And then the Lee statue in Charlottesville went up in 1924. And the Confederate statue toppled in Durham, North Carolina, went up in 1925. These are the 2 peak years of the KKK. So these Confederate monuments didn't even go up because of their love for these Confederates. It was because they symbolized that they believed in racism and slavery. That's the reason why they wanted these things erected. And that's just the thing with hatred. Somebody says, I'm a Confederate asshole and you can't stop me. And then they're like, hey, you're being racist. Oh, what'd you say? You say I can't do that? I had a story, a neo-Confederate sitting there telling me when I was real young and, innocent, that a black person went up to them and said, hey, how come you got that Confederate flag on your vehicle? Is it because you don't like black folks? And then he was like, well, and then I told him, well, no, I don't. In fact, I'd like to see you hanging from that tree right there. He was fucking proud of that. He was proud of it. So it's a threat. And then when you say, hey, is it a threat? Then it's like that bowl of hatred just rolls right over you. And it's fucking stupid. There was this black woman that went to Boone County. She had wrote about it. And there was a deputy sheriff, actually, that misspelled fault. He said F-A-U-L-T. Like, some people fought for the flag, so it must have been worth something to them. Just saying. Just saying. Right? But he misspelled the damn word. But when she wrote this piece about how she had to endure this Confederate imagery in Boone County High School, then everybody that spoke about it on her wall were vicious and defensive, and they said a lot of bullshit. But there were a lot of people that agreed with her, and they inboxed her. So the people that are the good people are inboxing, quiet, not saying anything, and then these Confederate fucking assholes are loudly speaking out. Loudly speaking out, hey, how come you're saying this? How come you're saying that? And that's what I see right now. And I think that plays a notion in the narrative. If you're a kid and you're reading Facebook and then you see this post and then you see 20 opposition posts, well, you're going to think most of the people are Confederates and that, it's no big deal. Whereas the truth is a little bit more, the truth is completely different. There's a lot of Confederate imagery and racist imagery in Kentucky. The Rupp Arena, Adolph Rupp, so the place for the UK basketball players is named after a big facility named after a white supremacist who held out the longest to make sure no black people came in. So Adolph Rupp, Rupp Arena, the entire UK basketball, and UK is a religion. UK is a religion in Kentucky, bigger than Christianity, if you could believe it. And Adolph Rupp is their fucking Mecca. That's their big church. Let's go to that white supremacist town. Lots of white supremacists like UK, and they're mostly black basketball players, so it doesn't even make any damn sense. Jefferson Davis, he's a man honored in Frankfort's Rotunda with a statue. So right in Frankfort's capital of Kentucky, there's 4 men: Abraham Lincoln, Henry Clay, and Jefferson Davis. Jefferson Davis was born in Kentucky, but that would make it that much more powerful, right? And when Dylan Roof killed all those black folks at the church, Matt Bevin, the current governor, said he was going to take it down. He was going to take that racist statue down. Mitch McConnell came out and he criticized it. So they didn't want to be called racist, so they, got on the anti-racist, strain, and then they said that they were going to do this. This is what, 3-4 years ago? They haven't done it. They have no intention of doing it. They're not going to get rid of it. They're going to keep all this fucking imagery. It's all over the fucking place. This imagery is all over the place. Henry Watterson has an expressway with his name on it in Louisville. Louisville would be the blackest city in Kentucky, and yet it took until 1975 to get their schools integrated, and there were white people that were shutting down the interstate and just going, crazy. So that's when white people protested in Louisville to stop integration. So there's fucking racists in Louisville too. The one possible place where Kentucky, wouldn't have infected with their fucking sickness. And it is a sickness. It's a sickness. It's a disease. And it's, I don't feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for the snowflakes or the good kids who are getting bullied by these assholes who want to say the good thing. This is what I see. And I relate to this somewhat. That, somebody would be in a class and then someone's like, I think Confederate flag's okay. And then someone else says, well, I don't think it is. I think it's a racist symbol, and I don't agree with it. I think it's really, really crappy. And then he would get, all that hatred. He would get all that guff and all that bullshit for standing out, for saying the right thing. But you're not supposed to say the right. You got to have power, right? So these the racists come in, and they already got their mentality. They already, if you go in thinking, well, I'm just going to be a student, and I'm just going to sit here and learn what they're telling me. I'm just going to sit there and learn what they're teaching me. So I'm going to keep an open mind. But they come in thinking they know it all, and then they speak it up. And so it sounds like that their voice is more confident in the class. Somebody else, nervously says the right thing, and then some other asshole. So again, that same black woman, she's like a comedian. She got a lot of good stuff about Boone County. But she was saying that a teacher had said something like that. Somebody said something about the Confederate flag being racist, and then the teacher says, well, you know, maybe the racism is actually the people that make everything about race. Maybe that's racism. And then all the other students, like, you know, were like, oh, yeah, I agree. And not only, she calls it microaggression. I don't think it's microaggression. What you're seeing is an ugly side to a shitty human being. They just expose themselves. They just told you that they're a fucking racist. Not only do they not oppose Confederacy, they are very much in favor of it. And so that was a teacher. So teachers at Boone County High School are teaching the kids that it is okay to be Confederate fucking pricks, to be Confederate fucking assholes. There's a long legacy in Boone County of racism, neo-Nazism, KKK. This bullshit has been going on. I know this because I grew up around it. I lived in a county right below Boone County. So, Boone County, he has a Confederate general with a sword in his hand. He's got a Yosemite Sam cartoon, Confederate flags printed on the floor of the basketball gym. It's all over Boone County. Then eventually the 80s or 90s, black athletes complained that they didn't want to, fight with that flag. And so then it just became the rebels. Just the rebels. Still that big fucking Confederate general with a big old mustache. And it was created in 1993 by a man named H.B. Deathleridge. So, Deathleridge. H.B. Deathleridge, class of 1963. So, 1954 in segregated society, it was fucking Confederacy. They named it after the fucking Confederacy. The black woman, I wish I wrote her name down, but she had said that in Boone County High School, home of the Confederate rebels, that you could wear the Confederate flag, that was okay, but shorts and flip-flops was not. They had a strict dress code. Nope, can't wear shorts, can't wear flip-flops. Oh, racist symbology, come right on in. One time she wore a "Kiss Me, I'm Black," "Kiss Me, I'm Black," right on her shirt, "Kiss Me, I'm Black." And the principal says, don't you dare wear that shirt in here again. She can't be proud of who she is. Kiss me, I'm black. What is wrong with that? You can say Confederate flag, history, heritage, but you can't say black person, kiss me, So it's, she wasn't being racist. She was being pro herself, right? So you could be pro-white, pro-black. You can be pro yourself. There's no problem with being pro yourself. There's no really white or black people anyways, but she wasn't saying I hate white people. She was just saying I'm black, kiss me. And so that's, the fact that Confederate fucking symbology is allowed in there, but kiss me I'm black isn't allowed in there. That's fucking bullshit. It's hypocrisy. She also mentioned that every single pep rally and the football games that she went to, the black students and athletes had to cheer for Mr. Rebel while wearing shirts that read Rebel Pride. And then the big banner with the football team, the band that would come in with the football games, they called that the Rebel Brigade. And that was a KKK chapter, the Rebel Brigade. So KKK, neo-Nazis, Confederate, why don't you get away from this shit? Confederates fought against this country. Do you like America? If you don't like America, you want a Confederacy, get the fuck out. Or I guess fight for whatever fucking land you're saying is going to be it. Knock it off with this dumb shit. What's your fucking demands? What are your demands? Genocide? You want to genocide all the black people? Well, you're calling for genocide, then you should be fucking genocided. The genociders should be genocided. You want to just kill all fucking black people? Fuck you. You're the ones that should be the goddamn scapegoat. Nazis want to exterminate Jews. Confederates want to exterminate the blacks. We got to meet them where they're at. Nazis and Confederates should be genocided. I want them fucking wiped out. Fuck that. In this country... So, you want to genocide everybody? You should be genocided. So, go to Boone County. Boone County. So, I talked about the history of, Kentucky. Jefferson Davis in the Rotunda. Louisville. University of Louisville. They got a huge Confederate statue right there, but it was right next to Emancipation Park. They made Emancipation Park right next to the Confederate statue. That was Louisville's compromise. So I guess that balances things out, right? Oh, well, we got Emancipation Park right next to this big phallic symbol. This, moldy bronze fucking phallic symbol. So there's a lot of imagery in Kentucky, but specifically in Boone County, where James Fields Jr. came from. there was a shit ton of fucking racist imagery. So you got Boone County High School, which he didn't go to, but that's the flagship. That's the main high school. And there's 2,000 students that were going there. And then you had about, 2,000 students were going there and maybe a couple dozen black students, which I was actually shocked. I thought there was more. I mean, it's Florence and it's kind of a big city, but there's only, I mean, this is close to the north. Why are the Boone County so goddamn fucking racist? Here's the big thing, okay, about Kentucky. This is some Kentucky history. Kentucky fought for the Union. Kentucky fought for the right side. They were started out being neutral, but then the Confederate governor was kicked out of the legislature. They tried to organize something over in Bowling Green, but the legislature was pro-Lincoln, pro-Union, and 100,000 Kentuckians fought for the United States of America. Don't ask Karen Dunnigan of Spalding University out of Louisville, Kentucky. And these are teachers. These are the fascists. These fascists they get up there and then they spout off these lies. And then you have to be 100% compliant and obedient. You can't question authority. It's your Fuhrer. Do as the fuck as your Fuhrer says. No wonder these kids are loving fascism and admiring fascists. They were all taught by a bunch of fascists. These teachers didn't say, let's all be democratic. Let's all decide upon the curriculum. What do you want to learn today? How do you want this conversation in this classroom to go? They weren't worried about the reputation. They weren't worried about the networks. They made them do a bunch of free labor for no pay and probably no fucking benefits whatsoever, except for you're able to make them comply. You're able to break their fucking will. And that's, instead of breaking their will, why don't we liberate people and make them stronger? That's why I will criticize his mother. Because as nice as she seems, well, that's the thing. The whole world thinks she's nice. She talks and she's pleasant and everybody's so, But if James Fields was pleasant, if James Fields was smiling, would the world think that that's good enough? Oh, that's good enough, James Fields. Look at that smile. No, as a man, that's not good enough. As a man, you gotta have power and money. That's it. That's the way you're gonna fucking survive. And she did not teach that shit to him. She's saying, shut up, do this, do that. For, when he was a kid, she's bigger than him. So she's bigger than this kid. Said she was controlling and dominating and making him believe in shit that's not even there, right? The voodoo hullabaloo. All that religious fucking horse shit. Which Protestants, KKK, they're right there. And then when she says, don't do the video games, and then when he gets frustrated and he's trying to express himself, and then she's like, oh my God, I'm so threatened. The whole world listens to her. Everybody listens to her. Everybody gives her credit. Everybody just, adores and loves her. She's so nice and so sweet. And that's okay. That's actually okay. If society would extend that to James Fields, but they didn't. They did not extend that to James Fields. His smile was not good enough. He didn't have a booty, right? He didn't have a booty. I mean, I guess he did, but I can't tell you why. It's how I feel. It's how I feel. As a man, I gotta be ready to fight all the time, all the fucking time, over stupid shit, and it's fucking bullshit. So she didn't teach him how to be a man. She taught him how to be a bitch. Look at him, he's skinny. He wasn't able to pass his military exam, so he failed his physical exam. So he wasn't athletic, he wasn't running, he wasn't exercising. And was she pushing him to do that? No, she don't have to be athletic. She don't have to push for anything. She don't have to be strong. She don't have to push for anything. Just smile, be pleasant, and then everybody will just accept her as she is. But James Fields wasn't good enough as he is. So he took it to another level. And I want to say he took it to another level, but the students right now that are coming forward, sitting there telling about all these things that James Fields had said and did. He called a Muslim a terrorist. You wore a hijab, always called her a terrorist, always talked about how the Germans were racially pure, the French were inferior, and just a bunch of other fucking nonsense. He was known as the Nazi. He wore belt buckles that had swastikas on it, and then people complained about it, but nobody did anything about it because the school officials are fascists. They're not going to tell another fascist what the fuck to do. They're not going to get him in trouble. They just said, we noted the thing, and then that was it. They noted that he's a hate-filled fucking Nazi, but, that's about as far as we can go. Free speech, well, what can we do? Well, Boone County, you've been defending Confederacy all these years, so might as well defend the fucking Nazis, too. Why don't you create a different alternative? Why don't we live in a democracy where we all get together and make decisions, as a collective whole, and then execute those decisions where we tolerate each other's opinion, where some people speak up and say their opinion, where we can agree to disagree, as long as you have reasons for your opinion, then it's okay to speak up and say your opinion. That's democracy. But the schools don't teach that. The American schools do not teach democracy. They do not teach democratic principles. They do not teach us how to get along better. They teach us follow the Fuhrer and fuck everybody else. Divide and conquer. The Fuhrer is the only person. The teacher in the front of the room is the only person who gets all the power. They get all the power and they get all the money and they get all the prestige. And all the students are a bunch of fucking intellectual slaves. A bunch of intellectual slave bitches. And they have to sit there and just, do as they're fucking told. Their spirit and soul is crushed, and they're imposing their, perspective on them. When I think people should be built up. We should be strengthened. So, Boone County High School's mascot, Mr. Rebel, Confederate general, stands tall in a feathered cap. He's pictured in front of a Confederate flag for many years. There was a picture of 1993, a bunch of Confederate flags at a football game. So that's probably the last we've seen the Confederate flag at Boone County High School, but they've retained the Rebel. They've retained Yosemite Sam. They've retained that Confederate cartoon general with the sword, and they know, even though the Confederate flag isn't around, everybody knows what's going on in Boone County. Everybody knows what's going on in Boone County. There's no secrets about what they mean when they say rebel pride. So, Cooper High School, it's 90% white, population a little bit over 1,000. So, during this time, James Alex Fields Jr. regularly found opportunities to single students out for being not white. He would constantly mock those different from him. His former classmates said he often made hateful and racist comments. One former student recalled Fields often harassed a female Muslim student who wore a hijab about being a terrorist. He would make a lot of people uncomfortable because he's one of those people that you never knew when they were going to do something. On his Facebook page, he's Trump and racist, neo-Nazis, Pepe the Frog, all this symbolism. So it's clear as day who he is, alt-right. That's why everybody's freaking out. Alex Jones, Stepan Molyneux, and all them. Because a neo-Nazi did some dumb shit and they're like, oh shit, now it's the end of the Nazis. Good. I'm glad it's the end of the fucking Nazis. I hope we do turn this thing around. Fields went to a field trip to Germany. He actually got to go to Europe. And they went to France and went to Germany. Germany was his fatherland. He didn't even want to speak to the French people or students whatsoever because they were inferior. He had a roommate that was there, and he kept telling his roommate all his racist fucking feelings, and then eventually his roommate complained and he didn't like it, and he left early. So he left his European trip early because of this racist asshole. And James Fields Jr. was never fucking punished. Boone County looked at James Fields Jr.'s racism as perfectly okay. And if you want to say, well, maybe they didn't know. The students complained. They knew about it. They wrote it down, on the fucking wall or some shit, and then just nothing happened. Now, apparently he had some mental health history. Apparently there was schizophrenia. He had been diagnosed schizophrenic when he was younger, but he also said that he couldn't pass the training. He couldn't pass the physical endurance. So there's confusion about that, and I'm not for sure why we don't know the exact reason, but maybe it's probably confidential. They didn't pass the physical exam, the schizophrenia, but I don't know. We need to know the reason, I think. So schizophrenia, that's an important thing. If he's a fucking schizo, is he taking his antidepressant medicine? Was he being overdiagnosed? Is he just a skinny kid being fucking bullied by the system, being bullied by the religion, being bullied by Boone County culture? Yeah, that's exactly who he was. He was created by Boone County. Boone County, the cops, the Florence police, how many of those men interacted in James's life? Did any of them show any love or compassion? Did any of them say that they were going to be the male figure in his life that he needed? No, of course not. They went in there, hey, don't be mean to your mom, okay? She's a good woman, and she's allowed to be a dickhead to you and talk to you like shit. The nicest people in the world behind closed doors are some of the shittiest people to their own fucking kids. They're fucking shitty. And these Christian child beaters, they spare the rod, spoil the child, almost guarantee you she's that kind of fucking Christian. So she's for violence. She's the fascist. So he's living with fascism in the home, living with fascists in the school. Everybody's saying she's okay. Everybody's saying respect the teachers. They're fascist. They're fascist. They're the bosses. You have to do what they say or else they're going to use fucking violence. They will use any means necessary to make you comply. No wonder they don't see the bullies. They are the fucking bullies. They don't see the bullies because they are the bullies. So one lady was talking about how he was real shy. He'd go to the bus, use his bicycle, but whereas his mother was very sociable. She went to a big church called Crossroads, and she was watching this cat. You know, she called him a whole bunch of times, but she called the cops a whole bunch of times, which could have very well got him killed. One time he smacked her when he was 13, but none of the times, you know, there was like 5 or 6 times that the police were called, but none of those times were they outright violence. He just kicked her ass. He slapped her once, he spit on her once, he pushed her once, he was being threatening to her once. One time he didn't come home. So he's being threatening to me like you were. You know, you better stop with them video games or I'm going to beat the shit out of you. Oh, that's okay. That's not threatening. That is threatening. I remember when I spoke out against child abuse in the Boone County area. Everybody was for it. Everybody's for it. Everybody spoke up for it. And then the Attorney General ran on 3 issues, one of them being child abuse. So that means if you're born in Boone County, you would never come across child abuse being wrong, and you wouldn't speak up and say, you couldn't be Attorney General. You couldn't be Attorney General. There is a board, chairman of the Board of Education for Boone County, Ed Massey. He said the board has absolutely no knowledge of anything. The board has had a zero-tolerance bullying policy in place for several years and has no plans to amend the rules. So, I didn't actually get to the Kentucky stats, but the majority of Kentuckians fought for the Union. So, why would Boone County, who, you know, we were Union. 100,000 Kentuckians fought for the Union, including 25,000 black folks. And then 25,000 white people were Confederates. So 75,000 white folks were the Union, 25,000 black folks were Union. So 80% of all Kentuckians who fought in the Civil War fought for Lincoln, fought for the United States of America. Only 20 fucking percent. We've allowed the minority, it's a tyranny of the minority right now. How did Donald Trump become president? Because of tyranny of the Electoral College. Because he got 300 votes in the Electoral College. That's why he's the fucking president. It's tyranny of the minority. Tyranny of the minority. 20% of the population fought for the Confederacy. Only 20%. 20%. So Kentucky won. Kentucky won. And then they sided with the losers right afterwards. Why? Why would you do that? You ended slavery. You're on the right side of history. Because Confederates are fucking bullies and they bullied their way into the political system. And the so-called good people weren't strong enough to speak up. And that's bullshit. We need to have just as many people sitting there saying, don't be a fucking racist. Hardcore, so that way people grow up just knowing that shit. You don't walk in with an open mind. Should I be racist? Shouldn't I be racist? No, don't be a fucking racist. All the teachers should be doing that, to be honest. So, you know, Boone County, it's a hotbed of alt-right Rand Paul, teabagging Confederate pieces of shit. Boone County is where Samantha Ramsey was killed by the Boone County Sheriff's Department, so they're killing white women too. Her estate eventually won over $1 million, but how many people have been killed in Boone County that didn't get any retribution or just got abused and that was it? I've had a few run-ins. Dumb shit, man. They're fucking stupid. They're just bullies for no fucking reason. No fucking reason whatsoever. Because I'm a guy, right? You're a man. You're a skinny man. I can fucking bully you. You're not going to fight me, right? You don't have no power. You're just going to smile and think the world is supposed to love your smile. Hi, guys. Hi. How's everybody doing? I think we should, what's wrong with men being good to each other? Men having emotions, men creating bonds, you know, having a bunch of savages that have no morals, having a bunch of savages that don't know about emotions and love. That's just a fucking, you know, that's a vicious pit bull running around the neighborhood. You gotta have, you're gonna be a fighter, you gotta fight for love. If you're gonna be a fighter and you don't have any moral core, they're fucking savages. Schools are creating savages. Or dumb, obedient bitches who don't, you know, that's going to have problems for the rest of their life. So, Boone County, I blame the culture of Boone County. He's a right-wing Christian radical. Boone, let's see. Yeah, and I'll come some more later.